Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. The pair are expected to discuss the war in Iran and the next steps forward in this conflict. We know the New York Post reports that Netanyahu will share intelligence with the president about Pickaxe Mountain, next to the Natanz nuclear facility.
Well, I don't need Bibi to tell me that. Bibi's telling me that because he wants me to stay involved. I mean, I don't necessarily. We have the finest, because of Space Force, we have the greatest cameras in the world focused on. We know exactly what's going on.
Fascinating developments. Both Benjamin Netanyahu and Zelensky are in town. They're both arguing for more war, and now potentially a merged war. Ukraine war and the Iran war coming together in an unexpected way. And of course, if Bibi's in town, you're always going to get arguments for more and more war. Trump seems a little bitter about it. Is it real? Well, let's find out. Anna.
Well, look, let's begin with Trump's meeting with Netanyahu in the White House. This is now the 8th meeting that Trump has had with Netanyahu. And, as you saw in that video, Trump does seem irritated by the constant pressure that is placed on him by the Israelis, by Netanyahu, to continue being involved in a war that has turned into a quagmire. Of course, this is the war against Iran. And I think it is worth listening to what Trump had to say in fuller context. Now, take it with a grain of salt because Trump is a liar, but sometimes he has these moments of clarity. Sometimes he's a little candid. And I do think he sounds genuinely annoyed with Netanyahu in this clip. Take a look.
There are reports now that Netanyahu is going to talk to you about ongoing excavation at Pickaxe Mountain, construction vehicles entering and exiting tunnels, paving new access roads. Satellite imagery and intel indicates that Iran is actively constructing and fortifying Pickaxe Mountain. How will we respond?
Well, I don't need Bibi to tell me that. Bibi's telling me that because he wants me to stay involved. I mean, I don't necessarily. We have the finest, because of Space Force. We have the greatest cameras in the world focused on. We know exactly what's going on. But no, I heard Bibi announce that. I said, why don't you just tell it to me? Why do you have to announce it to the world? I know exactly what's going on at Pickaxe. It's not a big problem. We took out their nuclear sites, and we'll have to take out Pickaxe if we don't make a deal. If we don't make a deal, we'll take it out very easily.
Now, as I shared with you all this week, the Trump administration has listened to some of the advisors within the White House who have been urging Trump to put a pause on the bombings because of the fact that the United States is running low on interceptor missiles. So what's interesting here is that, some might think, is this really an end to the war, at least the kinetic action that's taking place? I personally don't think that is what is something that we can look forward to. I think the war will continue. In fact, Trump told Axios he is still considering resuming a large-scale military campaign if negotiations fail. Such a move would likely include a joint military campaign with Israel, similar to Operation Epic Fury at the outset of the war. However, Netanyahu's visit does come several days after Trump paused US strikes on Iran and announced that his envoys are trying again to negotiate some sort of peace deal or a new MOU potentially. Only late Friday did Israel learn that Trump had decided to hold fire, and apparently the Israelis are bitter about that.
You know your brain rot index? No, of course you don't. I didn't either because I didn't know what it was, but turns out you might want to, especially after hearing this. Did you know that the average American checks their phone over 200 times a day? That's about 5 hours of screen time a day on just your phone. Unfortunately, that means your brain is rotting. A little bit, but have no fear. I switched over to Noble Mobile, downloaded their Noble Mobile Life app, and was able to track my own brain rot index. It's 0. No, I'm just kidding. My number was not great, but now that I'm on Noble Mobile, getting way better. It tracks how much you use your phone, how often you pick it up, and even shows you how to save money on your phone bill by using it less. New members can even earn up to $100 cash back for keeping their brain rot index under 100, which means you are very unrot. Okay, so you unlock all that when you join. So download the Noble Mobile Life app today, track your own brain rot index, and learn how you can save money and spend more time doing things that actually bring you joy instead of doom scrolling on social media. Check it out by heading to tyt.com/switch or by downloading the Noble Mobile app. By the way, don't tell Andrew, but if you're on Wi-Fi, you also don't use your data, so you're gonna get money back anyway. tyt.com/switch.
And Trump also said something about Israel on Fox News that is sure to get under the Israeli skin. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, here's what I mean.
Now, when I took out General Soleimani, my first term, that set them back because I think they would have fought in a different manner. I'll tell you what, if he were around, maybe he would have had the nuclear. We stopped the nuclear with the B-2, and I stopped it also when I terminated that horrible deal made by Obama. They call it the Iran nuclear deal. It was the worst, dumbest deal. It was a road to a nuclear weapon. And if they had a nuclear weapon, you wouldn't have Israel around. Frankly, if I weren't president of the United States, Israel today would not exist.
If Trump weren't the president of the United States, Israel today would not exist. And like Israel is happy to take our money. Israel is happy to watch our soldiers die in their wars. But Israel loves to pretend as if they could totally be self-sufficient, self-reliant without any help from the United States. They are a country that exists. They're able to exist independently, except they're not. So whenever a politician, like Trump, for instance, says Israel wouldn't exist without the United States, they get really spicy about that.
Yeah, okay, well, go run your own country then. You're a grown-up country. Ukraine's a grown-up country, but no, they, look, why are they in town? They were in town for Lindsey Graham's funeral, right? So even Lindsey Graham's funeral is causing more wars. So they're taking it as an opportunity to both of them do a pincer move and going, give me more. Give me more war, more money, more military help. Well, guys, if you love war so much and you're so independent and wonderful, etc., why don't you go fight your own wars? I know, outrageous. In Washington, that is an outrageous thought to have, that these countries would fight for themselves instead of making us die for them. So at least Ukraine doesn't ask us to die, they just ask for our money. So look, Anna, I'm done trying to guess as to whether Trump means it or doesn't mean it about his anger towards Netanyahu. Look, there's things we know and things we don't know, and then I throw my hands up on everything else, right? So the things we know is, of course, Zelensky and Netanyahu want endless war. Endless, right? They want us to finance it, and Israel wants us to fight it. That's clear. They're never gonna stop pushing for war. Israel's gonna try several different ways to get to war: persuasion, media pressure, and that's why Netanyahu leaked to the New York Post. That's why Trump is annoyed at him. He said, if you got an issue with their nuclear programs or you have intelligence, why don't you tell me? What are you telling the whole world for? And what he's pointing out is that Netanyahu is trying to create pressure on Trump to go back into the war. And Rupert Murdoch is the most lunatic, radical Zionist probably in the world. And so the Israelis always use his publications, New York Post, Wall Street Journal, Fox News, to push for more war. They get Trump on, they're like, aren't you gonna do more war? More war, otherwise you're weak and you're a coward and all that stuff. So we've seen this movie 1,000 times. We also know that we're running out of interceptor missiles. Ben Shapiro the other day was livid about that making it into the news. He's like, shut up. You're not, the American people are not to know that their military is in danger and their troops are in danger.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they might not have them die for Israel.
Oh my God, it's so good to have you back. You have no idea. That post on X by Ben Shapiro was so loathsome and disgusting. He was more angry about the fact that the media is reporting about the reality of our depleted missile interceptors than he was about the fact that our soldiers are getting killed fighting a war on behalf of Israel.
Come on, guys.
It's amazing to me. It's amazing.
So look, we know, of course, anybody that's conscious understands that guys like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin care about Israel a billion times more than they care about America. I don't think they care about America at all, actually. I just think that they view us as like a dumb mule to whip every once in a while to do Israel's duties and wars, etc. Come on, everybody knows that. If you're denying that, you're on a different planet. It's not worth talking to people who aren't being honest, right? So that doesn't mean that it applies to everyone who's in favor of Israel. It's certainly, or anyone who's, well, if you're in favor of this war, you're either the dumbest guy in the country or you're for Israel, right? But you're not for America. Nobody in America wants this war. And then we keep having these nonsense conversations about their nuclear program. I'm so tired of going over it. He's, again, Trump in one of those Fox News appearances talking about how Obama made a terrible deal. Like Obama had stopped their nuclear program. The only reason we got out of that deal was so that there could be a nuclear program to use as an excuse to go into war. But now we're at the same loggerheads we've been at for months, which is if we keep going further, especially with the low interceptor missiles, we are in grave danger. Now you see more and more casualties mounting, right? No matter how much they try to hide it. And for a second there, the market was like, oh wow, oh yeah, right. We're in the middle of a war that involves oil, and it started dipping, right? Now the schmucks are hear from Trump, oh no, don't worry about it. We paused fighting. No, we didn't. We bombed them again yesterday. So then the markets go back up. So look, it's going to be economic and military and human disaster for us if we continue. It's been the case for a long time. But there's no force more powerful on earth, honestly, than the Israeli lobby. So it's all of America versus the Israeli lobby. And by the way, miraculously, I have it at a tie now, which in the past, the Israeli lobby would easily maul every American voter, would win in a landslide. But this war is so disastrous, it's gotten to about a tie.
And Americans are awake, and that's the one thing that's been giving me hope.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets its wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.